Hello again, and welcome back to Illegally Cited. This is Jesse, aka BGFH, and yeah, I'm back for kind of another event slash channel update slash whatever update video this time, and several things I kind of want to just talk about or mention or give a few thoughts on. But before I go any further, of course, you probably noticed by now, my voice is kind of wrecked right now. It's getting better, but this last weekend I was so fortunate enough to come down with some sort of T-virus plague thing again. Felt fine Friday morning, and then got home, and then around, I don't know, must have been right around 5:30, 6:30. Just started feeling like crap, just kind of came on like a wall that just hits you and go, I don't like where this is going. So basically the end of last weekend, I was kind of out of commission, basically wrecked my weekend plans. But anyway, I am getting better. Still some stuff going on with my throat, a little bit plugged up here and there, and my right ear has fully not fully decided it wants to unclog itself, although it was toying with the idea earlier this afternoon. So hopefully I won't have to suffer through that crap much longer. Anyhow, yeah, so if I sound different, if I got to take a drink of some water here periodically, I may do that. So anyway, that's my personal kind of status for now. Channel update, going pretty well. Again, as I promised in the, I don't know, early September, late August, whatever month it was, video, around the back to school time, I wanted to include some VR educational content, and I've started doing some of that. Not too many views on the stuff though, so definitely go check out there's a playlist for educational VR. There's some really neat stuff in there, things I've covered in the past, a while ago, and then a few that I've covered this month, or at least recently. There's been, like I said, the Apollo 11 one, which was one of my early favorites. There's the one I did on the International Space Station, which came out about a week ago, maybe, and that was fascinating. Just did a bonus video for you guys yesterday, Tuesday. And that was the kind of reliving the last moments of the Titanic sinking from, you were looking at that through a person's point of view in one of the lifeboats, which was just crazy to watch. I mean, I know we all know how it ends, but I mean, it's just like, man, that was just, I mean, just in VR, you just like, you're there. Tomorrow I got another Titanic video, and I should also mention the Titanic video also has an underwater, like the sunken wreck documentary. So it actually kind of, you're taking this little mini sub and this little drone out, and you're kind of exploring these sunken ruins and learning about like the different areas of the ship and things like that. And basically that really made me want to go, yeah, this is really neat, but what I want to do is I want to see this sucker, just standing there in that one spot on the deck during the sinking portion. It's like, I want to walk around this thing and just look at, because they were marketing, they were really saying this thing is just this, this Titanic is going to be just the biggest ship, the best ship ever made. It's unsinkable, and they just put all kinds of crazy stuff into it. And so tomorrow I'm going to be looking at a experience that's currently in early access right now. But the parts that are there are kind of cool. Just kind of a standalone app I was able to find, and you'll see it tomorrow. There's actually a recreation that they're working on of just that, the actual recreation of the Titanic while it's still on the dock and it hasn't been sunken yet. And it's kind of cool. It's just fun, especially, again, in VR. You can play it in non-VR or virtual reality, but it's just really neat seeing that kind of a thing and just walking around, getting an actual sense of the spaces. There's just something about it that with that extra level of immersion that I really like. So we've got a couple of those things coming out. We've got one or two more, maybe. There's one or two more that I can think of, the educational VR that I might just sneak in for you guys next week. Then we get to the month of October, and, I got to cover some horror games. I've got some classic horror games coming out, coming for you guys, some ones that I fondly remember from back in the day. I've got one or two VR titles, actually a couple VR titles recorded already, and another title that I downloaded but I haven't played yet, but I hope to record. It's called Blind, and tell me if you've heard this one before. You are a blind person who uses echolocation and who is actually doesn't remember what is going on and trying to figure out blah 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 whatever happened, etc., etc. So, I've talked about it before. I mean, I know the biggest bit of irony. I actually posted this on a channel that I follow. I like this VR channel, and he was covering the game, and he's like, "Oh, this is so cool! It's so immersive and whatever." I'm like, "Yeah, it is neat," but I kind of had to. I felt, I wanted to educate people a little bit. I'm like, yeah, contrary to popular belief or what many of these games and experiences would have you believe, not too many people actually navigate via echolocation. Sure, we can use sound. We listen for, different sounds to orient ourselves to know where we are. It's like, oh, okay, I hear the fridge over there, so I can walk over there that way or whatever. But, sure, some people do use echolocation. But the more ironic part about it is I find it funny, like I said, and I've talked about this several times, but like you have all these games that recently that have had blind characters, and many of them use echolocation or some gimmick of that nature. And the ironic part, though, is that, oh yeah, it's a visual representation of blindness for these mainstream games and experiences that an actual blind person cannot play. There's irony there somewhere. That's all I can really say about that. But yeah, so I have a lot of different things. I gotta go through all my lists of videos that I've actually recorded already and kind of, again, map out a sort of schedule of like, okay, how many horror games do I have? How should I spread that out, either around the end of October or throughout the month of October. Got to sit down and probably do that this weekend. But yeah, I mean, the channel is actually, it's made it over 1,200 subscribers. We are apparently currently sitting at 1,210 subscribers. So thanks again for checking out the channel. Keep on coming back, and said a lot of different variety of things to come, and a lot of content already out there. Tons of gameplay, tons of virtual reality, iOS accessibility stuff, VR accessibility, low vision stuff, general tech and hardware. If you like headphones, a lot of those videos too. But we're done with those now. Like I said, I think I found my headphone combination, so I think we're finally done looking at headphones. I'm sure if I looked around my apartment, I could probably find yet one or two more that are just hanging out there that if I really wanted to be thorough and review every single pair I had, I probably could, but likely not going to. So that's kind of a channel update, a lot of things, we're going to have some, there are actually, I know people keep asking, they'll leave comments and stuff, which is great, which is fine. Hey, we would like more accessible games, more accessible iOS games, more accessible PC games. That is coming too. I just need to find more time. There's so many things, so many books and movies and games and accessible games and stuff and things that I need to do and want to do. And there's that pesky 8-hour-a-day work thing that I have so I can get paid, so I can afford to do half this stuff. I have picked up a couple of PC titles that I'm going to try. I haven't played them yet, but I'm going to try to take a look at here fairly shortly. I've also got a couple of iOS accessible titles that, again, I hope that I will be able to cover here pretty soon when I get a chance to sit down and actually play them. So we got a few more, and of course I've got a few more in the backlog already recorded, so there is that as well. So you will be seeing some more accessible games coming out. Accessible apps, I really don't know, because I think I've covered a great deal of the ones that I really regularly use. I mean, yeah, there has been updates where interfaces changed for some apps and things like that, but I don't know that that really warrants a whole video. Hardware reviews, though, I do have one coming here. Hopefully, I can get it recorded. Maybe that'll be next Wednesday's video, maybe sometime next week's video. The last update video I think I did was for the Apple keynote, which was really kind of boring actually earlier this month. However, it didn't stop them from releasing a couple pieces of new hardware. And yeah, I was stupid and decided, you know what? All right, fine, screw it. Let's. I'm interested in the watch, but I guess I really do want to see the new phone. So yeah, I went and bought an iPhone XS or XS Max and the 256 gigabyte version. No, I didn't splurge for the 512 because A, I didn't feel I needed it, and B, damn, that's a lot of money. The 256 was brutal enough, and I'm not even going to tell you what I paid for that. But I got it last Friday, so I've been using it for a few days. Not quite as fully as I wanted because, like I said, I had this kind of cold T virus thing going on the last few days, so I haven't. It's you're when you're at work, you're busy. I'm like, man, if you get sick or something, then I could just I could be around the house and I could maybe watch movies or play games or do whatever. But then when you actually feel, when you are sick, you're like, I can't even watch. I get a headache just watching a movie, let alone doing anything else. So, like I said, I got the phone set up, played with it a little bit, and then after that, I was kind of out of commission for a couple days. So, I did use it. I listened to a lot of podcasts, watched some YouTube, putzed with it a little bit, but really did a lot of audio stuff with it. And there are definitely things that I really like about the XS Max. And there are a few things that I like, as I expected. There are a few things that I really don't particularly care for it. Are they deal breakers? No, I wouldn't say so. I definitely I really mourn the loss of the home button. Because it is to me so much faster and easier just to use the home button to go home, or to trigger the app switcher, or to turn voiceover on or off, or to, there's just so much thing where you're holding the hand, your thumb's there anyway. I do miss it. Some of the gestures are not quite as, I would say, as accurate or consistently, they don't consistently work quite as well, maybe. And, the replacement for the home button is, of course, your Face ID. I'm learning. I'm getting it a little bit better. There are times where it works great, and there are times where I think it should work, and it's just stupid, and it doesn't seem to want to work, and eventually I might have to enter my passcode, or after like the second or third try, it gets it. You do have to hold the phone further away than you might think. They said about between 10 and 20 inches. And I'm kind of, you have to get the right angle. You have to get the right distance from the phone away from your face. You have to, of course, the way you look at it, like I said, when I think I'm looking straight, I kind of look a little bit to the left, and that's not really fully center. And so I kind of have to remember, is like, either put the phone a little more to the left or, kind of just look a little more to the right than I think that I would. So I'll get into more specifics in my iPhone XS Max review, which I'll, again, hopefully try to get recorded this weekend. But I did buy it. The OLED screen is fantastic, by the way. The notch is still dumb, but the screen itself, ooh, yeah, that OLED screen is pretty sharp. I'm not going to lie, as a low vision user, pretty nice. I've seen it on the Samsung phones. I've seen it on my Samsung tablet that I already have, but yeah, it makes it really nice for a phone. So yeah, we got that hardware review coming. There's a product that I saw. It was like $30, I think it was. And I just saw it out of the blue. And I've seen different versions of these things, in stores and online. And I'm just like, one of these days I'm going to have to buy one of these just to see how strange they are. But there's this dirt cheap one, and I'm like, okay, why not? This just looks really weird. They have all these little, the latest craze is all these miniature classic game consoles. Your NES, Super NES Classic. Sony just announced their PlayStation Classic last week. And yeah, we've had all these Atari and Sega consoles. Well, and then you get all these knockoffs. You get these like Chinese knockoff ones where it's like 600 games in one or 150, blah, 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 whatever. Well, the one that I saw, it was like $30 or something like that. And it had, like, it looked like an NES Classic, except like the front panel of it, it was just the opposite. So like the buttons, let's see, how's it go? The buttons were on the right, and then the control ports were on the left, which is just the opposite. And then the controllers, they looked like NES controllers, but they have 4 face buttons instead of 2. So they took the A and B button, and they slapped another 2 right on top of it. And then it's so weird. I haven't got the machine yet, but I saw I should be getting it here fairly shortly. But what they've done is, it seems like some of the games might be accurate ROMs, but then it seems to be there's a whole shitload of these like ROM hacks that are just bizarre. I watched a video actually after I bought the thing online just to see. Somebody had a review of it and was showing off some of the stuff. I'm like, what? That is nuts. And so I'm interested to kind of take a look at that and just see what kind of bizarre, like, there's just, they in China, they just sell everything. They'll sell anything out of China. Like, copyright law means nothing. Everything, everything is made there anyway. So it's, it's just, I want to take a look at one of these bizarre bootleg, mutant, weird knockoff consoles. And so I'm like, all right, why not? That'll be entertaining on and off the channel. So yeah, a couple hardware reviews, and then we've still had a couple of events that I can talk about really quickly. Amazon, just out of the blue, last week had this Alexa event that was just, and hopefully I didn't trigger her. It doesn't look like it. All right. But they had the You-Know-Who event, and I don't know, like, I can't even keep track of all the crap Amazon is doing nowadays. I mean, they have like 8 different versions of the Echo now. They've refreshed the Dot like 3 times minimum. This now it looks kind of like a hockey puck kind of a thing, and it's got more like fabric top and stuff on there, which I don't mind. The Echo Plus, actually, if I could trade in my original Echo for an Echo Plus, I wouldn't mind doing that, because I don't even know if I have the box for it anymore, though. But the Echo plus it sounds a little better. And the most recent one actually has an indoor thermometer, so I can say, hey, what's the temperature inside? That I kind of wouldn't mind every once in a while, especially when I'm like, is my air conditioner actually working, or is it just me? Yeah, so it'd be just a nice, convenient way to do that, get an upgraded sound and things like that. But they have, like I said, all kinds of updated, Echo products. They've got like an Echo Show. No, the tablet guy, the tablet. Yeah, I think that might be the Show. But it's now a 10-inch tablet screen, I guess, instead of a 7-inch, and it's supposed to look better. You can actually put, if you have more than one Echo, you can make them into like stereo speakers, and then you can also buy this Echo subwoofer that you can use with a variety of their different Echo products. That so you have your subwoofer and your couple of stereo speakers. Yeah, so they've got that kind of stuff going on. I haven't looked at it, but I heard some vicious rumor that they have some Echo microwave, which, depending on the size of it, it might not actually be bad. Like if my if my microwave crapped out on me, I would consider it because, if I could just, instead of reading those flat panel buttons and I can say, hey, make me some, let's make some popcorn, or whatever trigger phrase, and you could just, oh, okay, with the popcorn setting, or, just nuke it for 5 minutes or whatever, Yeah, I don't know. Why not? I guess. Amazon is between Amazon and Google, they're going to take over the world anyway. Resistance is futile at this point. But yeah, so there's been, like I said, there's just so many Echo products and things like that I can't even keep track. In the different time, but they did announce you can actually control your Xbox One with a you-know-who skill, which I have not set up yet, but I really should try that. And apparently, if you have your Xbox off, you can actually say to your speaker, hey, turn on, or, I can just be like, hey, play Halo. And it'll turn the system on and sign you in, and boom, you're in. I could be getting a drink ready or something, and when I'm ready, the game will be up and loaded. So, that's kind of a neat thing because, when the Xbox One originally came out, they had the Kinect. I never owned one. I never really saw much appeal for it. Most of the games seemed gimmicky at best, garbage at worst. But some of the voice control and gestures and stuff were unique at the time. But, and especially think about it for an accessibility aid. If you have a mobility impairment, or even if you have a vision impairment, you can use narrator, but if you can just quickly say, oh, hey, open the Xbox store, or, start Forza 7. That's not bad. That could actually be really helpful. You combine that with the Xbox One adaptive controller, which, by the way, is fully out now. You can go buy that for $100. I don't have one as I really don't need one. I would love to see one in the wild and, get some footage of it for people. Because I think it's just a really fantastic idea. And the fact that like every button has its own port that you can plug whatever type of device you want, a button, a switch, a sip puff thing, a rollerball thingy, whatever you can basically put in that port, you can kind of make it work. So that's just a really, really cool idea for people who need it. On the topic of game accessibility, check out last week I also did a video for Shadow of the Tomb Raider, which actually has It is not playable by a totally blind player, but it does have many accessibility features in it for all kinds of different disabilities. In the beginning of the video, I go through each of the options menus and show you what is actually available. And then I play through a couple little bits of the game and kind of just show you what the game is like, what it looks and sounds like, how some of the accessibility features work in game and that kind of thing. So yeah, that's under the low vision and the inclusive game spotlight playlist, because again, I really want to have a separate playlist for games that not just accidentally, but there's more companies now that are just saying, hey, we want to make our products more accessible and playable by more people. And if we're going to do that, we're going to purposely put work into various accessibility features, and hopefully we're going to advertise it. And so I definitely want to have a playlist just dedicated to recognizing those titles, because that's fantastic. And hopefully that just becomes, 10 years down the road, hopefully that's just more or less industry standard. Just like subtitles are now, one can only hope. So that I think is mainly the old stuff. Couple crazy things. Like I said, I mentioned the PlayStation Classic coming out. It's coming out in December. They haven't announced all the games for it, but they the 5 that they did sounded promising. There are things that potentially I like about it, potentially that I don't like about it, but because God forbid, they actually let you pre-order the thing, and not be like, oh, well, guess what? We're going to see if anyone can even get their hands on it. I did put a pre-order in for it through Amazon, and if I decide, the games aren't really that worth it, I can cancel my pre-order. But since they allowed me to, and since my pre-order actually was able to go through, I'm like, I'll get it just in case it becomes a collector's thing later. So we'll see about that. Some bad news. Last week, Telltale Games. I want to talk just a little bit about this. Telltale Games, I have not covered any of their titles on the channel yet, but I should. I should especially cover the first season, at least a video, what the game is like. The first season of The Walking Dead. Telltale Games came out good 10 years ago, 10, 12 years ago. First series I really remember from them back when, what was it called? Not Gamefly. Oh, it was a streaming service. Not streaming, but you paid the service and you got a whole access to all of these games that you could download. Oh man, it's gonna bug the hell out of me. Let me get a drink of water for a second. Let me think about it. GameTap. Anybody remember GameTap? I don't think they're around anymore. There we go. GameTap, though. Telltale came out with this episodic series, and they revived this Sam and Max point-and-click adventure games, which are actually pretty funny, by the way. I played through Season 1, a little bit of Season 2 of that. Then they did Back to the Future, an episodic, God forbid, a good Back to the Future game. I played a little bit of that. They had a season of that. But where they really made their mark was in, 2012 or so? They released the first season of The Walking Dead. It wasn't based necessarily on the TV show. It was more based on the comics. But it was really good. Most adventure games, not all of them, but a lot of them, were kind of focused more on the, comedy sort of a thing. You know, your Sam and Max, Monkey Island, those types of things. But The Walking Dead was really interesting. Very, Telltale's thing was they're really focused on story. They like the first season, everybody, it was like, what was it, 5 episodes, and you get a episode every like 1 or 2 months. And they really started this whole episodic gaming thing. Now you have things like Life is Strange and a few others trying it. And, but yeah, Telltale really started that. And like, my friend, Jawbreaker and I, we would talk, we'd finish the games like, oh man, what did you do for this one thing? Or what happened for you when this happened? And, who did you save for this? Or did this person die? And the end of that game, man, the end of season 5, the whole game you're playing this Lee character and you're taking care of this younger girl, I don't know, 18-year-old girl, Clementine. And when you started the game, you're like, oh God, I got to take care of a little kid. This is going to be obnoxious. But you really got to know both the characters and then some of the other surrounding characters. And, it got to be really interesting. Like, you actually started like, oh, I'm really starting to like these characters. And what they did in the end of, I think it was episode 4 might have had some pretty gnarly stuff. But, like, by the time the end of episode 5 of the first season, that game, man, just so memorable, so brutal. Like, and I don't say this very often, but I mean that one, like the way that it ended, you almost shed a tear for that one because it was like, oh man, they did it so well. The ending of season 1 of Walking Dead was just brutal. And then they did, but here's a problem, and this is why I'm talking about it. So I'm just kind of building up. After that was successful, then holy criminy did they kick it into high gear. They licensed everything, or were trying to. They had, I lost track of how many Walking Dead seasons. I kind of quit an episode or 2 into season 2. Then God, what else did they have? The Wolf Among Us, another comic book thing, which is kind of neat. They had... They had an adventure series based on Minecraft. They had a Batman one, a Borderlands, Jurassic Park. I can't even name them all. But basically what happened is, so last year sometime, they laid a whole bunch of their staff off, and we knew they were kind of in trouble because, some of their games... There's always been some jank to their titles. Like sometimes the saves don't quite carry over the way they're supposed to from episode to episode. There's some weird graphical glitches and stuff here and there. And it's just their engine really hasn't been updated, and they never really fixed it. They just kind of kept plowing along. And like I said, they would get all these licenses and just release game after game after game and keep expanding, and they couldn't keep up with it. And so, like I said, they laid off a lot of their staff sometime last year. And then I saw last week, they're basically going out of business. Bankruptcy, and it was just a really nasty thing because, so, not too long ago, they called it like the final season of The Walking Dead was just starting to come out. I think like episode 1 and 2 might have come out of the final season. And now it's officially pulled. You can't even buy it anymore at this time. So I didn't buy it. I had Telltale fatigue long ago. So you can't even get the partial season now. But yeah, so the company is basically going to be closing up shop here fairly soon. They kept a very small number of employees. They laid off most of their people. And so the shitty part is not only did everyone get laid off and they're closing everything, there's no they're not offering any benefits to anybody. Like, you're not getting any severance, you're not getting any like insurance. They're just, nope, see ya, we're done. You're just basically like out the door. Anything that I don't even know if I don't know if there was anything where people hadn't gotten paid for part of their work. I don't know if it's gotten that far, but nothing as far as benefits and or just taking care of their employees despite everything. And then you get idiot freaking gamer people, and this is why non-gamers, get we get such a bad reputation from non-gamers, because you get idiots like this who are like, well, gee, the last season of The Walking Dead started. Well, what the hell are they gonna now? What are they gonna refund us our money, or are they gonna finish it, or that's not. I mean, yeah, it's a bummer that, okay, if you were really into that, there, you're not gonna finish it. It sucks, but that is the least of their problems. I would much, much rather see them take care of their employees properly. Um, take care of their employees properly, than to worry about whether this last season of an episodic game is going to come out. You people got your priorities just wrong. Sorry, but that's what it is. But the really shitty part is, like, not just the layoffs and everything, but like from, we've been hearing some rumblings that all was not well in Telltale Land for a while, because, there was reports of people getting overworked and crunch time all the time with all them projects they were taking on, and all kinds of just not really a good place to work for quite a while. And then we heard that like literally within a week before they're shut down, they like hired I don't know if it's just one person or a couple people, but they actually hired people a week before closing, shutting down the company. And that's a real dick move. I mean, that's awful. I mean, you think about, like, I don't know, maybe they were local, maybe they weren't, but like if they weren't, especially, you're uprooting you and your family and whatever to go work for this company, thinking, oh, okay, I got a game job, great, or any kind of job, great. And then the company goes under a week later. I mean, it's not like they didn't know. Managers should at least have told HR, you may not want to hire anybody. We know we're pretty much sunk. I mean, you don't want to panic people, but at the same time, that's just a really shitty thing to do. Excuse me. But that is, I just wanted to mention that just because it's such a weird situation, terrible situation. And, from a company that I really used to like, but again, the oversaturation, they kind of did it to themselves, because, they had a good thing. They did a little comedic thing with the Sam and Max games, and then they had The Walking Dead. Sure, you might do one or two other types of series, but I mean, see, they were just whoring that adventure engine out to every franchise they could potentially get their hands on. There was supposed to be a Stranger Things one coming out at some point, which might have been interesting. But yeah, no, they just had so many properties, and they were just going nuts. And like I said, all their games kind of started to feel the same. I mean, yeah, different stories, but I got fatigued. Many people got fatigued on them after a while. So yeah, I'm not going to end with some bad news. I am going to talk about one other thing that was just announced today. I'm going to switch tabs here. So we're not looking at my YouTube page anymore. We are looking at the Oculus page. So the Oculus conference OC5 happened, or is happening right now. They had their keynote today, which unfortunately I was not able to watch because I was at work and I was in meetings all day and whatever. But you see this little critter right here in the middle of my screen. This, my friends, is the Oculus Quest. I am genuinely curious about this thing. So I don't know everything about it, but I got a little bit of a blurb earlier. it basically looks like a Oculus Rift. And then you have the motion controllers, except the little round portions, little sensor round thingies, are on top of your controller instead of below, which is okay. But here's the thing. It is a standalone device, just like the Oculus Go, but it has inside-out tracking, which means that, remember when I talked about the Oculus Go, the problem with that, especially as a low vision user, is that you did not have any form of head tracking. You didn't have your 6 degrees of movement. Now you are supposed to be able to, now you can lean into interfaces that support it. Now you can, not just turn your head, but now, like I said, you can walk forward, backward, side to side, lean in, whatever. And it's all self-contained still. So you don't have to hook this up to your computer. This would be a great way to show potential of virtual reality to people. I could bring this to work. I could bring this home to my family and show them. I mean, probably, I don't know if they would really care. My mom might get a kick out of it, but, until we get a new version of the Rift that is that is wireless, the fact that I could be in, like my living room or my bedroom, somewhere in my apartment where I have a little bit more room, and I could, I think that would be actually a really, excuse me, throat is really starting to give out on me here, but the fact that I could use that untethered and that it supports head tracking really intrigues me, and it's actually only going to be $400 to start with. So, a standalone, kind of in between the Oculus Go and Rift type of device, more hand tracking, more head tracking, standalone VR headset. I could see myself getting into this, and this is where I wish my channel was a little bigger, or I wish like certain people would see it. This is one case in particular where I would absolutely love, if you guys know anyone, or if you are at Oculus, or if you know somebody at Oculus, I would love to make a contact with somebody. I would love to make contact, and God, if I was able to get like a pre-release unit of this thing, I mean, just, I really, even if it was like a prototype where it would be even better if it was a prototype and they were still working on the final, under the headset interface, boy, would I love to consult on the accessibility of that, because like I said, remember when I talked about the Oculus Go in an earlier video, neat idea, but that interface inside the headset, the menu interface and stuff was, at this fixed distance and no head tracking, and, it was kind of really bad for a low vision user, and I would love to have some input on that. So like, if you're out there watching or listening, if you're from Oculus or something, hey, hit me up on Twitter at BGFH79. Leave a comment in the description below. I will DM you. I will email you. I'll give you my email. But I would love to be an active part in making your platforms more accessible, and I think this would be a really cool way to begin, because I know they're really so focused on the mobile space. And so, yeah, I'd love to get one when they come out, but I really want to know what their interface is going to be like, and if it is actually going to be, any level, like, is it going to be like Oculus Dash? Speaking of segues, they also announced that in early October, the Oculus Dash, which remember when I talked about the in-headset menu interface in the Rift, kind of sucks right now if you're a low vision user because it's all flat, it's all pushed back. Well, Oculus Dash is, you're in a virtual environment instead, and that has the potential to be to be a lot more supportive for head tracking. So I do want to take a look at that. I know it's in beta right now, and I could enable that, but I'll wait for the final deal early next month and let you know how it goes. But if they put something like Oculus Dash in there and they support that, excuse me, inside out tracking and head tracking in there, 6 degrees of movement, that could make mobile VR a lot more accessible. Hang on a second. I'm going to wrap it up here in just a moment, but I had to get one more drink of water. My throat has finally caught up to me here. But yeah, so we're getting the Oculus Quest at $499. It's supposed to come out next spring sometime, not sure when. Apparently, the Oculus mobile app now also supports the Rift, which I will have to try. So just like the Steam app on the phone, I can browse the store and remotely install apps and games remotely to my computer. Yep, excuse me, I'm going to have to wrap this up in a moment, but that is cool because if I hear something cool while I'm out or I'm at work or there's a sale going on when I'm out of, I'm at home visiting family, I can buy it and I can, boom, get it installed when I'm back home. So that, there's some new apps, there's some new games announcements. I haven't found all of them. There's one based on the Creed, the Rocky films, that actually looks really kind of cool. It's out right now, and I'm tempted to buy it pretty soon because it looks kind of fun. And some other stuff coming out, so look for more of that on the channel here, hopefully in the near future. If I stay alive, that is. But yeah, that's kind of what I really wanted to talk about is a little bit of this Oculus stuff. Just the fact of, maybe there's a potential for more apps to be, mobile VR apps to become more accessible just for the fact of the inside-out tracking and 6 degrees of movement freedom. Yeah, God, I'd love to get my hands on an early build of this. How do I get Oculus? How do I start getting people to, I'm not necessarily doing it just for, I want free stuff. Like, I genuinely want to help make these things a better product. And, if I can do a review early or if I can, like I said, be involved in part of the process of, testing the interfaces and actually, if they chose to maybe look at interface. And now that I think about it, one of the things that intrigues me is, I forget the actual law, but, if you're a media playing device, there's that law that 2019 things are going to have to be, accessible to all users, be that deaf or blind or whatever it is. Let's say, well, okay, one of your big focuses for these mobile headsets is watching, you got the Oculus venues, which why they don't bring that to the Rift is beyond me. It's annoying because there's many things that actually come to the mobile stuff platform first or just on the mobile VR entirely and not even make it to the full Oculus Rift, which is kind of really obnoxious. But if they're focused on all these media playing apps, does that mean in order to access, just like you would for your TV and, media player devices, for your flat screens, does this mean then, will that apply to virtual reality to say, hey, if I want to watch Hulu in VR, or if I want to watch, YouTube or any other these number of like video and 360-degree video streaming and video services apps, does that mean that they have to maybe become accessible? So maybe there's a chance of this happening sooner rather than later, if nothing else, by requirement, if not by choice. So, again, if anyone knows of anything, to help hook me up, man. Like I said, I would love to do it. Like I said, I'm not necessarily just looking for free stuff, but I would love to help make. That's why I'm such an early adopter in VR as it is. I mean, you can get the Oculus Rift now for like $300, $300 or $400. By the time I was said and done, I probably paid close to $1,000 for the headset and the touch controllers and whatever else, and that's not even all the apps. But yeah, it's just I was hoping to have some impact on making virtual reality more accessible to a low vision and blind user. So we'll wrap it up here. Hope you guys found the video helpful. Definitely go check some of my older. Just go look through some of my recent videos. Like I said, some of the VR, especially the VR stuff that's really cool, doesn't really have a whole lot of views, especially the educational stuff. I think you'll actually like it. Just because it says educational, it is not boring. They said if school was like this when I was a kid, God, I would have loved to learn back in the day. But check out all my different playlists. If you're new to the channel, again, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Keep them coming. I upload videos, or I unlock videos on the channel every Wednesday and Saturday, sometimes more frequently. Follow me on Twitter at BGFH79. You can follow me on Mixer, mixer.com/BGFH. I was going to try to stream something last weekend. However, plague, that fell through. So maybe if my throat is good by this weekend, maybe we'll try to get a stream of something going. So keep an eye on my Twitter feed for that. And I think otherwise, like I said, follow me on Twitter, Mixer. Keep the likes and subscribes and comments coming, and hope you guys enjoyed the video. And until next time, I'll chat with you guys again later.